What's up, guys? Above Average here. I'm going to be going through a deck building video, and I will be showing you how I build my Kashtira deck. So, for you that don't know me, I got top 32 in YCS Richmond with Kashtira. Kind of when everyone was saying that the deck is dead. A lot of people didn't believe in the deck. But now, even though Unicorn came back to three, I definitely don't think that's the reason why the deck is popping up so much. And you've definitely seen it on DB if you play on Dueling Book, or maybe you've seen it at your locals now. A lot of people are trying the deck, so I don't think that's because Unicorn went to three. I think people are just realizing that, like, oh snap, the deck is actually pretty good, played pure. So yeah, I mean, I was saying this for the longest time. People really didn't believe in me. Not didn't believe in me, but they also didn't believe in my deck choice. They didn't think I was making sense with the cards, with the things that I was saying about the cards. They just didn't believe in it, right? But now, after losing into it, after playing it, they're like, oh snap, this deck is actually really good. And now that Unicorn went to three, people are like, oh, the deck is back. But again, I don't think that's the reason why the deck is back. I think the deck was always back. It's just now we get a little bump of consistency, which is, again, nothing crazy, right? We're getting cards like Snake Eye Populace, we're getting Bonfire, we're getting broken cards. But again, I still think this is one of the best decks that's going to be next format. So I'm going to start with the deck building video, basically. So I'm going to put the for sure cards first, right? So obviously we're gonna play three Unicorn, right? We're not gonna play any less than that. We're gonna play three Fenrir, probably one of the best cards in the deck, if not in the whole game of Yu-Gi-Oh right now. Rise Heart. So I want to talk about this a little bit. So back then, the way that people played Kashtira, and if you watch a lot of like old deck profiles, they kind of played this like funnel into Rise Heart, protect the castle type build, and sure that was good, but uh, now, since obviously we don't have a Rise Heart, the deck just plays differently. You play very, very wide. You end on all your monsters. You end on Unicorn, Fenrir, Era, Ogre, Birth Preparations. Like you end on all those cards. And what that does is that it puts your opponent on a one-turn clock to out all of your cards. Now, if they leave Unicorn on the board, Fenrir on the board, Birth on the board, Preparations, like or Era, they kind of lose on the following turn, right? Because then all the cards kind of cycle each other and get to each other. And then you have so much utility in the extra deck and a lot of spots in the main deck that you're able to out almost every single card that your opponent puts on the board. So um, again, now that the deck being just slightly different than how it was before, people played one. I know Jesse Cotton talked about playing multiple Rise Hearts. It was very, very bad. But in my opinion now, I think a Rise Heart should be at three. And the reason why is that it combos really well with Birth, and it combos really well with Theosis. So it's like another way to play the game if you don't open up your one card starter, which is Unicorn, right? If you open just Fenrir, you kind of end on like a Mickey Mouse board, but like Rice Heart plus any of these is still full combo, and obviously Fenrir plus any of these are still full combo. So I like this card being a consistency as well as into the mid to late game, since we play preparations, which I'll get to in a little bit. You get to fuel your preparations, right? Kind of like your birth, and it gives you more ways to play and more pushes in the mid to late game. Rice Heart also banishing your Theosis to mid to late game is also very, very good. So I personally heavily believe in three. Um, just like how I believe in three birth, of course, probably the best card in the deck. One of the best cards in the deck. Fenrir is probably the best card in the deck. And then triple Theosis. So a lot of people that I see online, they talk about two Theosis. They play two Theosis because they don't want to break and stuff. And to be honest, I kind of agree with them. I agree on two Theosis, but I only agree in if you're playing against a heavy combo deck. So if you're playing against a very heavy combo deck, like Vanadium, for example, right, or like a Synchron heavy deck, like that does like some crazy negates and they rip cards from your hand and stuff like that. I would agree. I would every time I go second against those decks, I wouldn't want three Theosis in my deck, right? Definitely can't afford to see multiples. Even seeing it is not good because that means I would need to have a monster on the board and then resolve Theosis, which is just not happening against a board full of negates. So in those matchups, you want to see, maybe 1 to 2 pushes, like you want to see Unicorn or Fenrir, and then you also want to see like utility cards, right, to break their board or hand trap them to death. So post siding, actually, I always side out Rise Heart and one Theosis. So one Rise Heart, one Theosis always come out going second against an extreme combo deck. So that's something really important to note, because you definitely don't want to be caught with especially multiples of these cards, but you definitely don't want to be having these cards in your hand going into an established like super heavy combo board. So yeah, so three Theosis is where I stand. Next, for the for sure's one Scareclaw. Again, this is like the thing that people like look at old deck profiles and they're like, oh, this is just a one of. But like they play it at one because they see everyone else playing it at one, right? Which again, how was the deck played back then? A Rise Heart pass, right? Or like just turbo into a Rise Heart, or Diabolos rip your whole extra deck or whatever. Um, so I even think Scareclaw Cash could be multiples. Like you could play two. I played a build where I was playing three, and it was actually very good. It's probably like one of the best cards you could have in the crackback. Banishing your Theosis from grave to add back another card, or like it's a really good card to top deck. And most of the times you add it off Fenrir and you hold it until your crackback. So I'm still gonna play it at one. Um, for this build, but again, I don't think multiples is bad by any means. And there's certain matchups where you actually would want to, like against even against Labyrinth or Pearly, having multiple Scareclaw caches are actually pretty good. But I'm very comfortable with one. If I need it, I could get access to it through my other cards. Then Ogre. So a lot of people don't play this card, and I mean, I could see why, but I feel like they just haven't tested enough with it, or like they played like maybe one tournament and like it was bad for them, or like it was weird for them. It didn't really come up for them, so then they took it out. But I think that's a very poor argument. I think Ogre, just being a 2800 beat stick is insane. Being another Kashtira name is very insane, right? It kind of bumps up to the consistency just a tad. You even putting up just big cards on the board, right? That's very good. Like that could still get you there on the following turn, right? If they don't out those monsters. So I like how this again with the Osis or Rice Heart, I could still play some Yu-Gi-Oh, right? And the effect that to look at your opponent's top five and banish a card, I feel like for me personally, comes up almost every single game where I either banish a very important combo piece, or I see what card they're going to draw for turn, and I could alter it whether for them to draw that card or the card after, and that kind of seals the deal most of the times, right? And my personal favorite card in the whole entire deck is Preparation. So I want to talk about this card a little bit. It's actually like it's weird. Like there's no combo exactly that like sets this card up perfectly, kind of like how Big Bang was, where you always needed it with your Rise Heart, right? With your Rise Heart to trigger your Shang. But now, with preparations, if you constantly banish your cards and kind of keep that in mind, like use your SP, maybe even on your own cards, you could fuel your preparations, and that could really get you there. This card is another birth. It demands an answer. Again, most decks now they do play trap cards. There's engine trap cards, and once you put them in that weird spot, um, they can't use the trap effects, right? Because then they know they're gonna get a card from their hand ripped, or like you're gonna whittle down the resources a lot with preparations. So I think this card's a bomb. I consider it another birth, and it's not even a bad card to brick on, to be honest. It could help you bring out more monsters from your hand. It's also really powerful how it lets you special summon without using a monster effect. So what happens a lot is you make your board, and then your opponent tries to enter battle, like special summon Fenrir, enter battle, and then use their Fenrir, right? But once they enter battle, you could use preparations and special summon your Scareclaw cache from your hand. So you're not using any monster effect. They're already in the battle phase, and you have a Scareclaw cache in defense. So if they attack, they can't use Fenrir. So I think that's actually pretty broken. Big Bang, again, I see people play, but I think you searching this card and like setting it is a very bad interaction. Like they first of all, they know you have it. Second of all, you lose to whatever you already lose to, so I wouldn't add to that. And the effect to use like with Rise Heart to like banish and then detach from Shanger Era, it's literally the same exact thing that you would normally do, but the only difference is you don't use your birth effect, right? Which could kind of help you play through Nibiru, right? Because then you could just like if they nib you, you could birth something back. But to be honest, you're gonna end up bricking with this card more than anything else. And back then, you kind of needed it to resolve your FTK combo, right? Which locks all your zones. But other than that, you don't need a Big Bang because we don't go for those combos anymore. There's no need to go for those combos anymore. So the fact that you could eliminate a brick from the deck is phenomenal. So yeah, we don't play Big Bang. Shinger Era. I just play one. Very rarely do you make it going second, and you definitely don't need any more. I've played a lot of games, many regionals, YCS, locals like crazy, and I've never needed to. So, I mean, you could play two, but I feel like if you're going into two, you're doing something wrong. Uh, Tier cache. Now that we got the third unicorn, you kind of don't need this. There are some builds that I experimented with multiples of these, and it was actually pretty fun. But for this build, we're not playing any. Then, of course, uh, planet, literally just consistency, more cards. And since we're here, I think that's it for the cache cards. Since we're here, we could add terraforming, right? Terraforming, just the consistency card. We could add another Kashtira card, which is called Pot of Desires. Not Pot of Desires, Pot of Prosperity. Pot of Prosperity is literally a Kashtira card. I'm gonna get to the extra deck later, but most of the times you don't need to resolve this. You don't need to resolve this card at all. You don't need to resolve, not resolve, but you don't need your extra deck to even win games, which is crazy. So then to get to the more mandatory cards, we're the deck that can play Shifter, right? So we're gonna play Shifter. We're definitely going to play Shifter. Another card that I kind of consider mandatory, which is weird because I hate considering this card mandatory, but it's honestly just a Swiss Army knife card. It's going to be very good next format against Labyrinth, and that's Ash Blossom, right? The thing is, though, like, I hate how everyone just kind of closes their brain and is like, oh, we have to play 3 Ash, but like they don't know why they're playing 3 Ash. I feel like in your given format, you should know why you're playing Ash. And the same thing, I think we could say about Imperm, right? Because it's so easy to say like, oh, we're gonna play 3 Ash, 3 Imperm, and it's gonna be good. Sure, Imperm could be good, right? Of course it could be good. It's so versatile, you could use it almost every single match. But I want to show you guys this, which is the national champion, Jeremy Mitchell, and what he really talked about. I don't know how loud this is going to be, but what he talked about extensively.
Sort of the engine there. So I was looking everywhere against the right side draft. Earlier, I didn't play Imperm. The reason why is because I didn't think it did enough. And a lot of my friends at the Airbnb was telling me, like, if you have Imperm, most of the time you're setting it, and then they're just going to get, battle phase even lead, or you're going to get Harpies, or you're going to get Lightning Storm. So even if you're going second with Imperm, it doesn't really do that much. Like, it doesn't.
Okay, so basically you gotta watch the whole video, but what he says is how Imperm going second doesn't do that much. And when you watch this video, you have to think of what the format was back then, right? And back then it was pure Kashtira format, maybe even Flanderies, and Imperm wasn't doing so much for him, right? And it was a card that he had to set if he went first, right? Now in the format that we're going into with Bonfire, Populous, Centurion, like there's so many crazy combo decks and so many one card combo decks, right? Where with one card they do a full push, like Wanted could be a full push, and then if that gets stopped, they could use a singular other card in their hand. That could be a full push again. So Imperm, same thing with Ash, but I think Ash is a little more versatile in a sense that it could stop. It's really good against Labyrinth, and it can be really good against Brand New Fusion and stuff like that. It has more applications as well as being a level 3 tuner to go into Baronne de Fleur. I think Imperm is a slap on the wrist card that when you use it, you kind of have to pray, right? Like you have to use it and hope it gets you there, because if it doesn't get you there, you're playing with one card less in your hand. And if you're going against a heavy combo deck, if your Imperm doesn't get you there, you're most likely losing the game, since you're going to be playing against a full board of negates with one less card in your hand. You could say the argument that you could hold Imperm and use it and like to bait a negate, but the card that I've been playing actually, and I've been having extreme success with, even though Fire Kings are in the format, is triple raigeki. I don't play Dark Hole because Iblee's not really in the format, and I don't expect Iblee. And raigeki, you could just top deck, and even if you have monsters on the board, you could use it. Even if you have your SP, you don't have to clear your own SP in a sense. But I've been playing triple raigeki over triple Imperm using the same logic as Jeremy Mitchell, and he says something very important. It's the fact that like people are setting their imperms, right? People are using imperm, and it's like a slap on the wrist, and you have to pray that it gets you there. And raigeki is just always going to be good. You could draw it in the mid game and the late game, even if you have it in your hand turn 0 and you're going first, which keep in mind for that to happen, you're going to be playing a 40 card list. So it's like what, 33% chance you're going to draw one of them going first. And you have to win the dice roll, right? Which is 50-50. So if all those percentages line up, you will draw raigeki going first. And now that's just one card in your hand. Sure, a very, very slim chances you're going to draw multiples. But if you have unicorn, if you have, your combo, you could still get there. If you have shifter, you're going to still get to use the raigeki. Yu-Gi-Oh is not a turn one game, although people think it is. Most of the times you end up going to turn 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, going into the grind games. And you playing cards like raigeki can help deal with SPs, can help deal with negates, can help deal with huge cards that you have no business like clearing. You kind of have to go like minus and into your extra deck, and that could help you out those cards. But raigeki just being a single card to out all those cards is phenomenal. So that's my reasoning for playing raigeki. And then post sighting, you have 3 raigeki going second, which is crazy, right? You get so much value off of one card. So to continue on with the raigeki, there's some cards that kind of combo with raigeki, and those are talents, right? Which I personally play one, but you could play multiples if you want to switch around some utility cards. So raigeki kind of demands an answer, right? So if you have talents, you could pick what affects you. So these cards kind of combo with each other. So you could like completely brick, use raigeki, they chain SP to protect their cards, let's say, and then you could use talents to draw 2, and that could kind of get you there, right? Which is pretty crazy. Another card that I personally play is one droplet. So as you guys know, I like playing with Ethereal 1-0s, and droplet is a card that could combo with raigeki. So going second, you could raigeki chain droplet, maybe pitching another card or so. You could clear a whole entire board, and this is a very powerful and sacky interaction, but you'll be surprised how often it comes up and how impactful it is. Keep in mind, prosperity for 6, if they don't respond to this, you have a good chance of seeing raigeki if you don't already open it. So it's very, very neat in that sense. So moving forward, there's another card I play. It's called Monster Reborn, which of course you guys know. Monster Reborn is very good in a sense that a lot of people play Fenrir right now. Almost every deck is playing Fenrir. Like so many people are playing Fenrir. You could raigeki and then Monster Reborn their Fenrir. It sounds bad, but it comes up. It comes up often. What else? We have what do we have in the format, right? We have Rescue Ace, a lot of Rescue Ace. We have a lot of Fire Kings. We have Labyrinth. We have Centurion. So a card on top of my head that's very good against all those matchups, going first or second. Of course, as when I build my decks, I like to make the majority of my deck good for regardless if I lose a dice roll or not, right? Of course, raigeki is mainly good going second, but I explain the reasons why. Even if you go first, sometimes it can be very powerful. If you could just hold it and then on the crackback, you raigeki, you could win the game. So I'm going to talk about raigeki a little bit more, but a little later. So a card that's very good right now, going first and going second against all the meta decks, is actually Cosmic Cyclone. So I think this could be a phenomenal card going first, really good against Fire Kings, right? Decent against Labyrinth. It could hit, all the field spells. It could hit Branded Regained. It could hit a lot of crucial cards. So we could play 3 Cosmic. I don't think 3 Cosmic is bad, but I would definitely want to have Duster in my deck, right? Going against blowout back row cards like Skill Drain or going against Labyrinth or even Rescue Ace, like I want to have the ability to get to Duster, right? So whether it's with Prosperity, get to Talents, or Duster, hit Duster, that's really, really good. Also against what is it called? Rescue Ace, you want to use raigeki and you want to use raigeki, and you also want to use it against Fire King. So a lot of people think that it's not good against those decks, but which sounds weird, but it is. They have to kind of trigger all their cards, right? Like if they have SP, if they have their prevent their turbulence, they kind of have to chain all their cards afterwards. And against Fire Kings, they're gonna use their Arvadas, they're gonna use their cards. So that's good. You're baiting multiple effects. You're not letting them time their cards. You're timing them for them, right? You're telling them you have to do it now. So I think that's really good. Another card that we could play is Called by the Grave, right? Since it's so good against Fire Kings, Labyrinth, which are some of the very popular and also can be weak matchups. Labyrinth in specific. Um, this could be really good. So let me see. We got battery, right? We're good. Let me put up the brightness a little bit. Okay. So Call by the Grave, we can put in for always going first. Oop, this should be here. So whenever we go first, or whenever we go against those certain matchups, we could always put in Call by the Grave. We could also take out Monster Reborn for Call by the Grave, but it's up to you. But for me, this is what my main deck is looking like. So let's click save. Now, let's talk about some extra deck cards. So let's go to Monster. Let's go XYZ. Let's go rank 7s. Let's start putting in all our mandatory rank 7s. Okay, Dark Armed. One of my favorite extra deck monsters. This card is insane. We got the Shangri-La. We got the Big Eye. Just like, filtering through all these cards, you could kind of play some of them, but they don't like. There's a lot of cards that just cross rolls with other cards that are just simply better, right? Like Noir, you could play Noir, which detach 2, put a card that they control to the bottom of their deck, but you could just play Draco Sack to out skill drain or problematic cards. So we're gonna play Draco Sack, which there's also another reason why we're playing Draco Sack. This card I want to talk about a little bit. It kind of looks like fluff, to be honest, but then I realized something really cool about this card. So once per turn, quick effect, you could detach 1 material from this card, then target one face a monster opponent controls until the end of this turn. This attack becomes half its current attack. Its attack becomes half its current attack, and if it does, this card gains that lost attack. So this could help you punch over almost everything, which is really cool. And another thing is that if it gets destroyed by Battle of Card Effect, right, you get to place on your extra monster zone, in your pendulum zone, which gives you the effect that once per turn, you can just target one face up card your monster opponent controls, half its original attack, which is like, it's a Kalut, or what is it called? Black Whirlwind Gale, right? Gale, the Blackwing card. So I'm gonna put this in. It's a flex spot, but it's a card that could always help you bump over big cards, which I think is cool. And you could also, if they kill it or whatever, it does something else after that, which is really, really cool. Moving forward, number 76. This card is really, really good. It comes up in weird spots, but against Tearlament, against Unchained, against weird matchups too. Even Vanadium, like getting rid of their Visas in their grave, it can be really, really powerful. The Odd Eyes package we don't play anymore. Again, it was like you have to not Shifter, and it was coming up like once every 10 games, just not often enough. Most of the times your opponent is just passing is if you Shifter them, right? And if you Shifter them, you can't do this package. Then we play the Flare Metal. It's just really, really good for your time, right? Another mandatory cards. Let's put in some other mandatory cards. We have the Zeus. All right, so we're gonna play Zeus. What other card are we gonna play? Another mandatory card we're gonna play is Typhon. Let's put in some Typhons, right? This card is absolutely mandatory in my opinion. We have our SP, Little Knight, right? This card is really, really good for just a mid game and for your combo, which I'll get into in a little bit. We have our Baronne de Fleur for our Ash Blossom play. Really good in like simplified game states. It comes up here and there, but it's a good slot in the extra deck. Then we have the combo of combos. So very big shout out to the guy playing this. I think this combo is so important now it's actually what is it, G Golem? Oh yeah, it's actually a big part in the deck now, and really big shout out to him. Um, whatever I think his name is Jake, or I'm not really sure what his name is, but um, this combo. So most of the times that you have like Unicorn and Fenrir, and they don't have any hand trap, you kind of just end with a bunch of extra cards and do nothing with them. Now we have a combo. We have an actual combo to go into, which is really, really cool. Although it doesn't happen like every single game, it happens very often, right? There's certain different combinations of hands that you need to have, right? Two card combinations, but it comes up. It comes up often. It comes up like a good amount of the time, like a healthy amount of the time. And you getting just those extra draws could be very, very powerful. You basically putting up SP before you end on Fenrir and stuff like that. It could really protect your plays through Nibiru, which was a big weakness of the deck. Um, putting up SP, it kind of tells your opponent like, you need to summon a big monster and attack over SP. But what that does, if you watch one of my old tip videos, it kind of makes them waste their battle phase, right? And what does that do, right? That basically says you have another turn. Excuse me. It says that I have another turn to play Yu-Gi-Oh, which turns on my raigekis, which turns on all the Kashtira cards that I have in my hand, which I drew off of Heat Soul. So me ending on SP is actually a lot more than what people think. It lets me play through some of the cards I lose to, as well as maybe even helping me survive an extra turn. If you have an extra extender, you could also end on like Shangri-Era, do the really, really big wide board, crazy high ceiling combo, which is cool. I feel like sometimes, you're going to be allowed to do that. So that's cool. The thing is, these spots were taken up by cards that weren't that relevant. I mean, like I played Super Poly in the past, which was good, but then there was like times where it was dead, so I didn't really like it after heavy testing. So playing the ability to play these cards and just not change your main deck, just play your deck is insane. It's actually insane. You're using these cards, which is really, really cool. Your Draco Sack just being, all these being Heat Soul is powerful. You end on Heat Soul, SP Fenrir, and then if you have an extender, you end on even more. So that's really, really powerful. And then when you go SP, you end up linking off your Draco Sack. I want to note you want to use your SP to banish your own unicorn in your grave, right? It gives you more fuel for your preparations. Now, what people think is that like, oh, if you're playing this combo, like, why not play more hand traps so you could draw hand traps off each soul? I agree, but I think it depends on the format, like I said before. I personally don't believe this is a format that you should be playing hand traps, and by that, playing hand traps in this deck. And by that, I mean you're either going to play 20 hand traps or you're going to play little to none. For me, I think Shifter, of course, we could play Shifter and Ash just because it's so, so versatile. If your opponent semi bricks or bricks, Ash could get you there. But I want to see engine. I want to see powerful cards. I want to see cards that let me play the game. I don't really want to see hand traps. And again, like I said, Kashtira, your opponent needs to clear your board, and if they don't, they lose. So I want to commit towards that strategy. That's the strategy that makes Kashtira so great. So I want to play with that. I want to help Kashtira do that, right? I don't want to be playing a bunch of hand traps and then like pass and then brick and then draw a hand trap and then pass and then slap them on the wrist. They're going to be playing cards like Wanted, like Rescue Waste cards, the Fire King cards keep coming back. These cards are so broken, guys. Like you can't afford to slap them on the wrist and hope it gets you there. So I want to play very powerful cards like Raigeki, Cosmic, Droplets, Once Reborn, Duster. Like those are the utility cards I want to see. I don't want to see multiple hand traps. And if I did, I'd play like a crazy amount of hand traps. But I just personally don't think that's the way to go. The format is really, really wide. It's not like we're playing a Goki format where it's going to be like one deck. It's going to be, you might think you're going to play against a deck that plays Bonfire and the Snake Eye cards, but you're going to be playing against a lot of other rogue decks too. So I think this gives you the versatility and like it gives you a deck that's a Swiss Army knife that's just always good, and you're never going to have dead cards. You're never going to use an imperm and pray it gets you there, or pray that like they don't have the extender, which most of the times they will. So yeah, that's my little rant. But going on to the side deck now. Now, because I know that I will see Labyrinth is Belt, right? Like I'm gonna play Belt because I want to have 6 Ash Blossoms in my deck against Labyrinth, which I know I will be playing. Also, a lot of people are playing Despia and Runic cards, so I want to have 3 Ash, 3 Bell against those decks. I just think that's very, very cool. Cosmic also being very good against any Runic deck. It's pretty cool. Now, next format is going to be Droll. Droll is going to be very good in the format, but again, I wouldn't commit with like slap on the wrist cards against the Sinful Spoiler deck. Against the Sinful Spoiler deck, I might even consider taking out Ash. I want to have cards like Shifter, Droll, very high impact cards. I don't want to have slap on the wrist cards and Prey. Just saying it over and over again because it's going to be it's going to be a big thing next format as well as just this format. One of the best cards in the side deck actually is Lava Golem for me. Sometimes, yeah, you do need to use your normal summon, but Lava Golem dealing with multiple threats is just very powerful, especially against the heavy combo decks. Uh, it's just a blowout. And 2 is comfortable for me. The way the side patterns work in this deck, you kind of tell like what cards come out first and going second, right? Like so, Raigeki always comes out going first most of the time. Um, Sometimes Cosmic comes out, sometimes Droplets come out, right? Because you don't really want to be setting these cards, right? You want to be setting cards like I'll show you what you want to be setting. You want to be setting cards like Solemn Judgment to stop normal summons or link plays, right? Stop blowout cards like um, Lightning Storms, Evenly Matches. Those are the cards that you want to stop. So Judgment lets you do that. Another card that lets you do that is actually Solemn Scolding. So like I said, you're not going to be having these cards in your main deck post siding. Maybe you'll keep in Cosmic depending, but Scolding is one of those cards that's like a Solemn Judgment with a Solemn Strike put together. So it's actually even better than Solemn Judgment. And it's going to be the only card set anyway, right? You're going to be flipping your preparations, you're going to have your births. So this being a 4th Solemn Judgment, it just covers what you lose to. And you definitely don't want to fall into the trap of not siding going first cards. If you're only siding going second cards, you're kind of saying that you're going to win. And even though you should have the mentality that you're winning or you should win, that you're quote unquote better than your opponent, you have a better deck than your opponent, you should always be prepared for going first. I think it's a mistake to not have cards for going first. And another card that's going to really prepare you for going first is Anti-Spell Fragrance. Again, you stop blowout spell cards, you stop tactics, you stop thrust, you stop Nadir Servants, you stop Branded Fusions, you stop all those cards. So this is a card that I definitely consider mandatory in Kashtira, and I would only play it at 2. I think 3 kind of you run into the part where you could draw multiples. Maybe you draw 1 push, it gets hand trapped, and then you set anti-spell, and then you kind of like make yourself brick. So I don't want to see that ever happen. So I think this is perfect. Cards that you want to also play or could consider playing, and I could probably try to fit them. Maybe I'm still testing around, but for me, this is like what the solid list looks like. Is cards like Lightning Storm. I think Lightning Storm could be really good in Kashtira, just like how Raigeki is. Um, Maybe even playing Thrust and cards like that. But hope you guys enjoy this video. You kind of went through every single card with me. Saw the cards that I play. There's some cards that I definitely could have included, like Access Code Talker, but I just don't see those cards coming up as often. And let me know what you guys think. Hopefully you enjoyed this type of video. If you did, let me know. I love doing these types of videos, showing you how I think when I'm building my decks and stuff, and the reasons for playing cards. I think every card, even Ash Blossom, should have a good reason why it's in your deck. You shouldn't just play cards just because you see them online all the time, right? So that's it for me.